So, don't mind the lack of shirt. I do still have clothes on, obviously, but it's just been a lazy day, and I've got little Miss sleeping here. So I figured while she was sleeping, I would talk to you guys about how her formula and everything like that was going. So, I had every intention of breastfeeding. She did great for the first 24 hours. However, the second day that she was here, she quit latching. She absolutely refused to latch ever. And whenever she was latching, she would only ever latch onto the left side. She would never latch on the right. She would always get so frustrated at the right side that we would put her on the left and she'd latch right away. So that was an issue, and we had a lactation consultant come in. We actually ended up having two come in and tried to help the second day to get her to latch, and she wasn't having it. They had me pump and syringe feed her what I was pumping and then top it off with a bottle. So I don't even remember the kind of formula that they gave us in the hospital. I know it was Similac, but I don't remember the actual type. But I was still pumping, and for the first 2 weeks I did pump at home. I did try to get her to latch a couple of times, but she wasn't having it. She was over the latching onto my breasts. So breastfeeding was a no-go. However, I was pumping and giving her some breast milk. But I wasn't able to... I ended up not being able to keep up with the pumping schedule because she was so fussy, and whenever she was awake, she was crying. And whenever she was asleep, I had other stuff that I had to do first. I had to do dishes and that type of thing, so I didn't really have time to pump. Had I had a double electric breast pump, things probably would have been different. I could have gotten a cheap bra that I could have cut out where the nipples are and used that for, to hold the part, onto my breasts. But it wasn't working out. I had a hand pump. It wasn't electric. I didn't have time in my day to pump. And I would have to do 15 minutes each side, so that's half an hour every time that she eats. It wasn't happening. So, especially being home alone all day. So a lot of my pumping primarily happened when my husband was home so that he could take care of her while I was pumping. So, since I knew I wasn't getting enough breast milk out for her, we ended up starting formula pretty much just, I think it was the day we got home. We tried her on the Similac Advanced, and she kept spitting up, and it wasn't working out for us. So I immediately took her off of that, and I tried her on the Similac Sensitive. So she was on the Sensitive. I didn't actually get the Similac brand. I got the Parent's Choice Sensitivity. It says compared to Similac Sensitive, so it was the same thing, just a lot cheaper. So that's what we were giving her, and she wasn't spitting up, but she was still very gassy. And she was not having it. We had her on the Sensitive for about 2 weeks. The Advanced, she was only on it for, I think, 2 or 3 days. We didn't even finish the can. So when we switched her off of the Sensitive, we tried her on the Parent's Choice Gentle, which is compared to the Enfamil Gentle Ease. And that, she was still pretty gassy. She was having, ever since we brought her home, she would have fits of breakdowns, I guess you could say. She would cry for 6 hours straight. I would try everything: changer, burper, feeder, rocker, um, bouncer. I would try everything. She hates being swaddled, so that was never an option. Nothing was helping her. She would just cry and cry and cry, and there was obviously nothing I could do that would help her. We tried tummy time, we tried back time, we tried cuddles, we tried skin to skin, like everything, and nothing was helping. She would just cry and cry and cry. And I called her pediatrician. I was like, I don't know what to do. Like, I'm not getting any sleep. My husband is barely getting any sleep. We are at wit's end trying to figure out how to help her. Like, we need help. And she had us switch off of the gentle and switch to soy. So, whenever my camera moved. Whenever I switched the formula, we obviously were buying out of pocket, so we were using the Parent's Choice if they had that kind. So we got the Parent's Choice soy formula, and we ended up finishing off that can. She was on it for about a week. Actually, it was a little bit over a week before we ran out of that can. And her pediatrician wanted her on it for 2 weeks, because we put her on it for a week and it wasn't a big difference. And we figured out that she has silent reflux. So she wanted us to keep her on the soy formula until, for another week, until we got the medicine Zantac a chance to work. And even then, it wasn't helping. She wasn't spitting up as much. Like, she never actually really spit up. It was more or less a little bit that would come up with hiccups. But she did have her bouts where she would spit up. And it just, I don't know. The soy wasn't helping, and we couldn't figure out why. So I had a couple people suggest Nutremigen. Is that how it's pronounced? And I've had a bunch of people suggest the Similac alimentum. So I figured we'd give one of those a try, and she was on the Zantac for 3 days, and we had finished off the can of soy formula, and instead of going out buying another can of the soy, I was like, you know what, we'll go ahead and get the Similac alimentum and see how she does on it. And it was 3 days before her pediatrician appointment, so if it didn't work out, it didn't work out, but it wasn't that big of a deal. And then, so I ended up getting on Facebook Marketplace and saw that someone had 6 cans. She actually had 5 cans listed for $50, and she said that 4 of the cans were unopened and 1 can was opened, but she had only taken 4 scoops out of it, enough for 1 bottle before her daughter just quit taking the bottle. And I asked her if she had a receipt to prove, for proof of purchase, so that I know she didn't get it through WIC, and she did. So I asked her if she would take $30 for it, and she said, yeah, that's fine, that she wants to get rid of it. It's just sitting there, taking up space at her house, and she didn't need it. So I met her at her house. It was just right over town, which was convenient. And I left her here at home with her dad, and I went over and grabbed the formula. And for $30, I was like, that's a good deal. And I wasn't planning on using the open can. I would have taken it and just thrown it away, because I don't know the people. I don't know anything about their living conditions, if they have any kind of infestation of pests or what have you. So I would never use an open can of formula or even medicine if I didn't know the person personally. And when I got there, her husband, or boyfriend, or whatever he is, told me that they actually had 6 unopened cans, no opened cans. So that was even better. So I was paying $30 for 6 unopened cans of the Similac Alimentum, and again, proof of purchase on the receipt, and on the receipts it shows if it's a WIC check, and it was not. And a lot of the stores are labeling the bottom of the cans WIC anymore, so I didn't have any issues with buying it off of her because I knew she had bought it out of pocket. And I got home, we finished out the can of soy formula that day, and then we started the alimentum like right away. Her last 2 bottles of the soy, she had spit up like projectile everywhere, and I knew that the soy formula was not sitting well with her. So when we switched, I made the decision against her pediatrician's advice. Her pediatrician only sees her for 20 minutes every week, while we were trying to get everything figured out, and I was at home with her 24 hours a day, listening to her scream 18 of those hours pretty much. And I was like, I'm calling it. I'm not doing soy anymore. And I'd heard so many bad things about babies that are on soy formula. There's something in it, or something that it does to babies' stomachs. It just really, it can cause harm, is what I've heard. So I was like, you know what, we're done with the soy. And the last 2 bottles confirmed it. She wasn't having it. And this entire time, she was so constipated. We had tried the Mommy's Bliss Constipation Ease and Probiotic, and it wasn't even helping. It says it's for 6 months plus, and her pediatrician gave me a dosage that I was using, and it wasn't helping her at all. She was still struggling so much to go. Whenever she would go, it was hard. It wasn't good. She was so unhappy and in so much pain. When we made the switch, it was a 360-degree change. We started it in the morning time. It was the very first morning that we had, I think it ended up being the day after I had bought it. And it was in the morning time, was her very first bottle. With that bottle, she never spit it up. She got the hiccups, and she wasn't bringing any of it up with her hiccups. She wasn't screaming for hours and hours and hours on end. I don't even think she cried more than half an hour at a time after her first bottle. So that was amazing. That night, she pretty much slept through the night. She went to bed, I think it was at 10 or 11 o'clock at night, is when she went down for the night. And she woke up once at, I don't know, probably 4:30, 5 o'clock. Oh, excuse me. Actually, it was probably 3:30, 4 o'clock. Somewhere around in there. She woke up for a bottle. She ate 4 ounces, went right back to bed. After I burped her and stuff, obviously. She was up for probably half an hour, and that was including her feeding time, burping, before she passed back out. And then she was back out for another 4 or 5 hours. She did so good. And she's pretty much been that way since we switched. And she's almost finished off 2 cans of that alimentum now. And she's slept through the night except to get up to eat. And she, like I said, she goes right back down. Right back down. Before, on the soy and everything like that, she was waking up 2, 3, 4 times a night to eat. And it was getting hard. I wasn't getting any sleep at all, especially because I was in her room with her, taking care of her while she was screaming so that her dad could sleep so he could get up and go to work to help provide for us. So this formula has been so great, so great. She's been going to the bathroom once or twice a day, and she's clearing her system out. It's so much better. She's no longer constipated on this stuff. She's no longer as gassy, and she sleeps so much better, and you can tell she's happier now. Before she wasn't smiling, she was constantly crying. Now she barely cries. She is smiling. She's happy. She's not in as much pain anymore. She still gets her gassy moments. I give her some gas drops and she's better. Life has been so great since switching her on this formula. I could not be more happy with that $30 purchase of 6 cans, and the cans are usually $25.99 a piece. And where I do my shopping, primarily for my WIC checks, it's $27.99 a can. So it's not a cheap formula at all, and it's only, I think, 12.1 ounce can. I think it said it makes about 87 ounces. So it's really not that big, and it's so expensive, but so worth it. We have been so happy, all 3 of us, since getting her switched onto this formula. WIC is covering it. They're covering 10 cans a month for us, which is fantastic. As opposed to the sensitive that we had gotten a prescription for from her pediatrician at first. They were only giving us 9 cans. So we get an extra can a month on this stuff, and it's been a game changer since switching her onto the alimentum. It's like a whole new baby, a whole new girl. She's so happy. And she was gaining weight appropriately and everything like that, but she was weighing more than what she actually should because she was so constipated on those other formulas. And we tried everything. Not only switching her onto that formula, the alimentum, not only was it good for her, it was great for my sanity too. I would get to the point where I felt like I was going to lose my mind listening to her cry for so long and not being able to calm her down whatsoever. So it's been wonderful. And I am so happy. So last night, even, she didn't go to bed till about 2 a.m. because she had taken a nap from 6 to 10 at night. So she was up and she was happy and everything. Around 1 o'clock, she got tired. She would fight her sleep. She's fought her sleep from day one. But, I mean, it is what it is. You just gotta help get them to sleep. And what I usually have to do is stand there and rock her for half an hour, if not a little bit longer, before I can get her transitioned into her rock and play when she's fighting her sleep. So she went to bed around 2 o'clock. She woke up at, I think it was 6:30. She ate 4 ounces, went right back to bed, and she was in bed by 7 o'clock, and she stayed asleep until I think close to 11:30, almost noon, and woke up and ate. She was up for about an hour and a half, and she took a little nap, and then she woke up and she ate. She's been so much better, and I encourage you guys, if your baby is having issues, definitely try changing the formula around. I honestly think all babies should be started on a Similac sensitive or like the Enfamil Gentlease. I think all babies should automatically be switched to that, um, because everybody I know that have had babies have had to have some kind of a sensitive formula. So she does have a big, major dairy intolerance right now, and we're hoping she grows out of it. But for the first 5 weeks of her life, she was at the pediatrician's office once a week. And that's a lot more than most people. So usually they see them a couple days after birth. They see them like for 2 weeks after birth. So when she was 2 weeks old, she wouldn't have had to go in for her 3 week or 4 weeks. She would have had to go in at 4 weeks to get her 1 month well check, and then she wouldn't have had to go back in until 2 months. And she had been in there 6 times in her first 5 weeks of life. So she's definitely doing so much better. And Mama and baby are both so, so happy. So, so happy, huh? But I'm going to end this video. I need to get dressed and run over town and get some stuff for her. But I will see you guys all in my next video. I hope this helped somebody. If your baby is having bouts of fussiness, if they're colicky, just what have you, I really hope this helped. And I hope it gives you some perspective on the different formulas and everything like that. I think with our next child, we'll put them on the sensitive immediately. And if that doesn't work, we'll probably just automatically switch to the alimentum and not keep bouncing between all these different formulas. So, yeah. So we will see you guys all in my next video. Let's see if I can show you guys her real quick. Oh. Alright guys, see you later. Bye.